In the last class, we have seen semaphores, which is an extension to mutex locks. What is the purpose of mutex locks? Mutex locks are semaphores. These are used to maintain process synchronization. What is when we process synchronization? Two or more process will be utilizing the shared data. Okay, they can modify the shared data. In that particular case, in order to avoid inconsistent results, what are the necessary things we have to take care? Those are there are several mechanisms. Out of those, one of the mechanisms is mutex locks. Here we will be having two function calls like acquire and release. Acquire is to check whether it is available or not, whether the shared resource is available to use or not. If it is not available, it has to wait. If it is available, then it could able to utilize. After utilization, it will make available variable as false, so that after getting access, it will make available value as false, so that other process which is checking for available variable, it will get as false, so that another process cannot able to enter. While coming out of the critical section, it will release the lock by making uh, the available variable as true, so that another process which wants to utilize or which wants to enter into critical section is allowed. That is what the mutex locks. And in addition to this, we are having, in extension to this, we are having a semaphore. Semaphore is basically an integer variable which will specify whether the critical section is available to use by one process or not, that we could be able to sense. Okay, there are two atomic operations which will be defined based upon the semaphore. Like wait is one of the operation, atomic operation, and signal is another atomic operation. Wait is to check whether semaphore value is greater than 0 or not. If it is greater than 0, then process could able to enter into critical section, and it will decrement it. It will decrement it and enter into critical section. That is what wait operation. And signal operation is just incrementing the semaphore value. Suppose semaphore value is 1. Semaphore value is 1. Try to understand the question. Semaphore value is 1. Can a process able to enter into critical section? Yes or no? If the semaphore value is 1 while sensing, then can a process able to enter into critical section or not? Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Why? Because it will check before entering into critical section, it has to gone through this particular wait function call. What is the S here? S is semaphore value. That is, S is anyway semaphore, which is nothing but an integer variable. Integer variable value we are saying as 1, which is greater than 0. So this while loop will be failed here. So busy waiting will not occur. So it will be decremented, S minus minus. So S value will become 0. Then it will enter into critical section. While coming out of this, what will happen? Whatever the semaphore value we have decremented, that means semaphore value is now 0, that will be incremented. That is signal operation. Okay, this is usual process. As we have discussed, 3 sections will be there: entry section, critical section, exit section. Entry section will be wait operation, exit section will be signal operation. In the critical section, we will modify the common data, shared data item. That's it. Next, we are having two different types of semaphores, which we have seen in the previous class. One is counting semaphore, another one is binary semaphore. Binary semaphore is like mutex lock only. Binary semaphore will be having, as the name itself indicating, 0 and 1 values only. So here we will be having mutex lock. We'll be having available variable, which we have seen earlier. Like that, we'll be having one variable. If that variable is set to 1, then another one process could able to enter into critical section. If it is set to 0, then no other process can able to enter into critical section. That is what the functionality of binary semaphore. Coming to counting semaphore, will be as we have indicated that semaphore itself is the integer variable. We can count starting from 0. We can count up to 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, so on, up to any number. So counting semaphore will not have any range in general. but binary semaphore will be having the range from 0 to 1. This is what the difference between binary semaphore and counting semaphore. And coming to the point, when we will use counting semaphore, when we will use binary semaphore, any answers? Yes. When we can use counting semaphore?
Sir, when our semaphore values are greater than 1, so we'll be using counting semaphore.
Yes, but can you give an example, like an application where we can use this? It is like we'll be having a critical section where we will be performing some sensitive operations that is on shared data item. Okay, this is critical section, let us say. To enter into this, we will be having a lock. Okay, that lock we can consider as semaphore. This is a semaphore. Only one process can enter into critical section, that is mutual exclusion property. So mutex lock or binary semaphore is sufficient to maintain this. But here we are having whatever the resource that we want, we are having several copies of that resource. Several copies in the sense, let us say, mm, one just normal example I can say, like if you went to okay, if you went to saloon, let us assume, if you went to saloon, there will be 3 seats available. So you will be waiting. If one is occupied, can you need to wait? No, right? You can occupy other seat. If two are filled, can you need to wait? No, you can occupy third one. If three are filled, then can you able to occupy? No. So we have to wait. So in that particular one, we will be maintaining the count. Okay, if the count reaches to 3, then if count reaches to 3, then we cannot enter. So that is nothing but counting sum of our application, we can say. Not only this particular one, like that, several applications, like you consider we are having pool of printers. Every time one task will be, or one print job will be taken by one printer. Okay, one particular printer has got one job and it is printing. Now another process which wants to print has to wait in general. But if a pool of printers are there, 3 printers are there, one is printing means another one can take the next job, another one can take the next job, like that. If all the 3 are occupied, if all the 3 are working, then a new job has to wait. That is what the application of counting semaphore. Got it? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that is the application of counting semaphore. Binary semaphore, in the sense, although we are having multiple resources, or even one copy or multiple copies, we will be having only one entry point. If one entry point, in the sense, only one variable we will be checking, whether it is 0 or not, we will check. If it is 0, we cannot enter. If it is 1, we can enter into critical section. That's what the binary semaphore in what you call context, where some resources we have. Okay, if a process enters into this particular critical section, all these resources can be held by one process itself, although it does not require all these resources. As one process enters into its critical section, all these will be held by that process only. That's what we can consider as binary semaphore application. Yeah, this is one example. P1 and P2, we are having two process, and we are having S1 and S2 as two statements. What's the requirement is S1 has to execute before S2. So S2 should not same statement I can rewrite it as S2 should not execute before S1. Whenever S1 has completed, then only S2 has to execute. So after completion of S1, we will give a signal that it has completed, so that S2 could able to execute. Got it? What's the requirement here is S2 has to execute after S1 only. So after execution of S1, we will give a signal saying that S1 has completed, so that S2 can execute. That is what we will do. So how we can achieve this one by using semaphores is we can make use of binary semaphore here in this context. Why? Because we are having only two statements, one after the another, either one S1 or S2 we have to allow. So we can make use of binary semaphore called sync is the variable name, binary semaphore name, and signal of sync in the sense we will be after execution of S1 we are giving signal of sync. What's the operation of signal? It will increment the semaphore value, so it will increment sync value, and initially the value of sync is 0, so it will be incremented to 1. So P2 is waiting on sync. Waiting in the sense, wait operation is not uh, is nothing but it will check this semaphore value. If the semaphore value is greater than 0, then it will enter into critical section. It will progress further statements. That's what the operation. If the semaphore value is, that is a sync variable value, is greater than 0, then it will allow. But initially, what's the value of sync? 0. So it is not greater than 0. So it will keep on waiting. That is, busy waiting will be imposed. Okay. You please remember in the last class also somebody asked a doubt. I am repeating once again. Wait will not guarantee that always it will wait. Wait operation will check whether we have to wait or we can continue into critical section. That is what the operation of wait. Clear? I think in the last class also I have told you. Yes?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So likewise we can what you call impose S1 should complete before S2. Next, coming to semaphore implementation, we will make use here. If you observe signal and wait implementation, we will be having busy waiting. Okay, busy waiting. Suppose one process has entered into critical section, all other process needs to see whether it is released or not. What's the semaphore value? What's the semaphore value? Like that, every time it has to keep on checking. That is called busy waiting. Okay, although it is not doing any what you call any useful task, useful computation, it has to wait. It has to check. It is like earlier application. Doctor will be there. Doctor consultation room is there. One patient has entered. All other patients has to check every time whether doctor is free or not. Doctor is free or not. Doctor is free or not. Every time after checking, again they have to check. That's it. So it is busy waiting. Are they doing any useful work here while checking? Nothing. Just they are checking whether they could able to avail doctor or not, doctor appointment or not. That's what the busy waiting. That can be subsidized, or that can be handled in smart way, like instead of busy waiting, like a doctor will be there. Instead of waiting here, what we will do is, every time instead of busy waiting, what we will do is, whenever he has checked okay, whether doctor is available or not, if doctor is not available, then he will be added to a queue. Next time whenever another process has checked, then that process will also be added to the queue. Like that, it will be added and it will be blocked. These process these patients need not check every time. Whenever doctor is free, automatically these process will be notified from time to time. Got it? The intuition? Yes. That's why we are having two other operations called block operation, wake up operation. When we will use block operation is, whenever we check semaphore value, if it is greater than 0, then it is allowed. If it is not greater than 0, that means if a semaphore value is less than or equal to 0, then what we will do is, instead of busy waiting, we will do block operation. Okay, we will block this process. That is, we will add to the blocked queue. We will add this process to the blocked queue. Similarly, another process wants to enter into critical section, but semaphore value is less than or equal to 0. Then that second process will also be added to blocked queue. Like this, we will continue. Next, here wake up operation, in the sense whenever a doctor is available, that means whenever semaphore value becomes in, incremented, semaphore value is incremented, then one of the blocked process can enter into critical section, isn't it? If one doctor is available, one of the waiting patient can enter into doctor's room. So wake up call will be given, and one of these process which are in blocked queue will be picked, and those can be entered into critical section. That's why semaphore will contain two things. In addition to the integer value which we have seen earlier, semaphore is nothing but integer variable which we have seen earlier. In addition to that, we are defining a semaphore as combination of integer value and list of blocked process on that particular semaphore. For each semaphore we can have separate list. It is like for each doctor we will be having separate weighted queue, isn't it? Yes, did you get the intuition here? Two doctors are there. For each doctor we'll be having separate blocked queue. Okay, this can be considered as a waiting queue. So for each semaphore we'll be having what's the value of semaphore and the list of all the blocked process, so that busy waiting can be avoided. That is the basic motivation behind this blocking and waking up these two function calls. Yeah, now we will see the implementation. Wait operation, here we are decrementing the value whenever it is becoming less than 0. That means we are having one process which is waiting, so it will be added to the process and it will be blocked. And another process which wants to enter into critical section, it has to undergo this wait process, right? So in this will happen, this semaphore value will be decremented, then again it will be checked, it is less than 0, so automatically it will be added to the list. Like this wait operation will maintain blocked process list. Next, signal operation, what it will do, it will increment the semaphore value. If the semaphore value is less than or equal to 0, then one of the process from this blocked queue, okay, either this one or this one or this one of the process will be picked, and that will be removed from this queue, and wake up on that particular process will be given. Wake up in the sense that process can enter into critical section. That is what this wait and signal operation without busy waiting. How we are avoiding busy waiting? Yes, how we are avoiding busy waiting? Yes, please respond. What is the basic thing that we are taking to avoid busy waiting? Yes, busy waiting we are avoiding by making use of blocked queue or blocked list for each and every semaphore, isn't it? Yes, by making use of this blocked list for each and every semaphore we are avoiding busy waiting. Yeah, next in this particular one we are having some special situation. Let us consider we are having two semaphores, P and Q. Okay, P and Q, and there are two process P1 and P2. Okay, in order to access one critical section, okay, P is to maintain one critical section, Q is to maintain another, Q is another semaphore variable which is used to maintain its own critical section. So P is like one lock, Q is like another lock. Now P1 needs to modify these two critical sections. That means these two shared data items P1 wants to access. Okay, so what it will do is it will give a function call that is wait on P. That is, it has to acquire the lock on P. Similarly, it has to acquire lock on Q, so that it could able to process some updation statements or some processing, then it will release. Release is nothing but a signal operation it has to give. So signal on q, okay, q will be released, then q will be and p will be released. This is what the operation of p1. Next, p2, it has to acquire lock on p and q as well. So it will acquire the lock on q, it will acquire the it will request the lock on p. That means requesting is it will check whether q is available or not, whether p is available or not. If it is available, it will enter into critical section by decrementing the value of q. Similarly, p value will be checked. If it is greater than 0, then p value will be decremented and it will enter into critical section. So these are the operations. After that, it has to give the signal like signal of p and signal of q. Is this clear, the flow? Yes, please respond now. Yes, Gayatri. Yeah. Now here, if you see, these two process p1 and p2 simultaneously executing. That means one statement from here, one statement from or two statements from p2, or three statements from p1, something like that. Some interleaved execution is allowed. Then what will happen here is, let us say w of p, that means weight of p, p value will be decremented, so p will be held by p1. Okay, that means on this particular one, lock is held by p1. Next, then this particular w of q is executed, let us assume. Then q value will be decremented, and on this particular one, lock will be held by which process? p2. So p1 held, p is held by p1, q is held by p2. Next, w of q, what does it mean? Weight of q. But what is q value? Q value is decremented, so q is being utilized by p2, so it has to wait. P1 has to wait for which resource? Which resource? Q. Next, P2 has to wait. Okay, P2 has to wait for which resource? P. For which variable? On this particular semaphore, P. When Q will be released? When Q will be released? Whenever P2 has completed its execution. Okay, when P will be released? When P1 has, releasing is nothing but signaling operation. You consider S of Q, S of P. When P will be released? Whenever P1 has completed all these instructions, then only this will be executed and this will be released. When Q will be released? Whenever we execute, whenever P2 has executed all these instructions and finally it will execute S of Q, then Q will be released. But in order to execute this, first of all, it has to complete this process. That means here we are having wait operation, which is nothing but busy, which leads to busy waiting. Here also wait of q. Here wait of p, it is waiting. Q is waiting for p2 is waiting for p. P1 is waiting for q. When these will be released is whenever p1 acquired q and p2 acquired p. But when p will be released by p1, when it acquires q as well. Understand? It is like two people are there. Two people are there, p1 and p2. They wants to get two things. Okay, two things. After utilizing the two things, they will release both the things. That is what the requirement. So they will be requesting both the things. Okay, that's why we are having wait to wait. Wait of p, wait of q, wait of q, wait of p. Two things are there. Let us say first thing, second thing. So first thing held by, already held by p1, second thing held by p2. Now p1 can release both the things. If p1 gets both the things, then p1 will release both the things after utilization. Similarly, p2 will get, if p2 gets both the things, then p2 can release both the things. but only one thing held by P1, another thing held by P2. When P2 can release this second thing is whenever it gets other thing as well, then only it will release. Similarly, P1 will release whenever it gets both the things, then only P1 will release first thing. So it is like P1 will be waiting for P2 to release, P2 will be waiting for P1 to release other thing. So it is like a never ending process. Why? Because P1 is waiting for P2, P2 is waiting for P1. So this kind of situation we call it as deadlock. Did you get the point? Deadlock in the sense there will be some sequence of instructions to be executed. One process is executing and waiting for some resource which is held by one another process, and another process P2 is executing and it hold one resource and waiting for another resource which is held by another process. Mutually these two are being waiting for each other. So this is never ending process. This particular situation we call it as deadlock. Okay, this is one of the examples which will lead to deadlock. One of the examples is like two semaphores we have, P and Q. Here also P and Q. Wait on P, wait on Q, wait of Q, wait on Q and wait of P here. Then finally it will release both the things. That means signal on Q, signal of P, signal on P, signal on Q. Like this, all the semaphores will be executed on this signal operation. Yeah. So this is nothing but deadlock. This is the example. S and Q, Q and S. So S will be held by P naught, Q will be held by P1, and the P naught requires Q, P1 requires S. But both will be, P naught and P1 will be waiting mutually. So it leads to deadlock. What's the definition? We can say two or more processes are waiting indefinitely for an event that can be caused by only one of the waiting process. Okay, already it is being waiting, another process is waiting, so it will lead to another indefinite waiting. This is called deadlock. Next, there is another situation, that is starvation. Starvation in the sense, let us assume we are we went to let us assume we went to bank. Okay, we are in some queue. Okay, we will be sitting in sofa. Okay, we are four people are there. So one by one they will be giving what you call tokens and all. So one by one they will be calling. Okay, now we are at third place, let us assume. Okay, first one is being served. Next, one privileged customer has come with some recommendation or like that. Then that particular person will be given priority, and that request will be served. Next, he will be taken care. Next, our turn actually, but another privileged person has come. Next, afterwards he has some emergency, so he has come, he has given some request, so they have called some other one, that particular person. So finally what is happening is, although we are in queue and we are supposed to get the access, but due to some other things we could not able to get access to this service. So this is nothing but starvation. That is because of what you call several other factors, one process is being waiting for long time, that we call it as starvation. Okay, indefinite blocking. Okay, although every resource is available, it could not able to progress. That is what starvation we can say. A process may never be removed from the semaphore queue in which it is suspended. Okay, it will be in a blocked queue only always. That is called starvation. Okay, and there is another problem which will result from this type of semaphore implementation. like we'll be having blocked queue and all. In that, let us assume we are having priorities for each and every process. Let us assume there exists one critical section. Based upon the priority, we will be allowing into critical section. But initially, we are, let us assume we are having low, middle, high, like this. We are having several levels of priority. Okay, initially these two processes which are having middle priority and high priority process, those are not ready to execute. Okay, only lower priority process is ready to execute. So as the only process which is requesting to entering into critical section, we will allow this process. So now in the critical section, what we have, in the critical section we are having lower priority task. Now high priority task has come and waiting here. Then after completion of this lower priority task, why? Because it has entered already into critical section. After completion of this task, high priority task will be entered into critical section. But while executing this particular lower priority task, high priority task has requested, middle priority task also requested. Okay, then due to this blocked queue concept, high is stored here, then middle is stored here. This is picked. What will happen if this is picked? Then what will happen? Although we are having for this process high priority, this middle priority process is going to get the critical section access. Okay, this is not following the priority sequence. Okay, according to priority, it is not allocating. That is the problem. That is the side effect of maintaining blocked queue. So while implementing this kind of blocked queue on each and every semaphore, we need to take care of these kind of problems, so that we can able to get process synchronization consistently. Try to understand why we are discussing these problems. One is deadlock, that is indefinite blocking of process each other, or some set of process will be blocked indefinitely, because of the event to occur within the set of operation set of process itself. That is called a deadlock. Next, starvation is nothing but one of the process will be blocked indefinitely. One of the process will be blocked indefinitely for long time. That is called starvation. It is like let us consider we are having doctor, then we are having list of patients who are waiting for doctors for their turn. Okay, let us assume like this. Then we will be whenever doctor is not available, we will be adding to the waiting list. So waiting list, like this we have added 4. Afterwards, if you take the patients from this end, then 1 2 3 like this, it won't be affected. But if you take the list from this end, what will happen? Fourth waiting patient will be given access, will be entered into doctor's room first instead of a first one. Next third one, next second one, like that. So suppose after fourth one and third one has entered into doctor's room, two more what you call patients has come. So those two more will be added as a third and fourth. Again fourth will be retrieved. So this particular first one will be keep on waiting. That is called starvation, that you keep in mind. Similarly, second one also will be kept on waiting. So this is called starvation. Got my point? Yes. Yes, please respond now. Yeah. Now these kind of problems may occur, so we have to avoid, we have to keep that one in mind while implementing semaphores by using blocked queues. That's why we are discussing these problems. Yeah. Next, we are having some classical problems of synchronization. One of those problems is bounded buffer problem. Another one is readers writers problem, dining philosophers problem. Okay. Why we are discussing only these problems, that I will clarify. But after completion of these three, try to understand the intuition behind this. I will give the justification why we are discussing only these problems. Are the only problems which we will have in synchronization, or any other problems will be there? All these things we'll discuss at the end of the discussion of these three. Yeah. Now let us consider bounded buffer problem. It is like we are having a rack of space which consists of some 3 4 5 6 7, okay, 7 files we can keep in the rack. Okay, first file, second file, like this. So we can put 7 files in this particular rack. Okay, so we can consider this as the buffer. What's the buffer says? Buffer can hold how many files? 7 files. Now we will be maintaining a process who wants to store a file into this buffer can enter into its critical section. So he could able to that process could able to enter into critical section, and it can store the corresponding file. Okay, fine. Next, another process wants to enter, then that also can enter, and that also can able to store another file. Like this, how many process can utilize this? How many process can utilize this particular common buffer? 7 process. Yes or no? 7 process could able to store in this particular one. So what is the bound here is 7. That's why it is called bounded buffer problem. 7 process could able to utilize this particular common buffer. And while writing into this buffer, okay, while writing into this buffer, at a time only one process is allowed. Okay, although 7 process could able to 7 files we could able to store in this common buffer, only one at a time we could able to write. Okay, this is the problem of bounded buffer. Okay, bounded buffer problem is nothing but we'll be having some finite capacity buffer, and that has to be utilized by number of process. That is called bounded buffer problem. Okay, so now how we can implement this is by using semaphores. Semaphore in the sense, here we will make use of, try to understand the problem. Bounded buffer problem is nothing but bounded capacity will be there, that is finite capacity will be there. Whether we are having free slots in this or not, we have to check. That is first thing. Yes or no? If the free slots are there, then we could able to enter. Next, even though free slots are there any process which is which is writing here, which is utilizing the common buffer? If one process is making modifications to this what you call common buffer, then another process has to wait. So that also we will be checking. Understand? So by keeping this one in mind, how we can implement this semaphore, this bounded buffer problem, how we can handle this bounded buffer problem, we will see by using semaphores. Yeah, here we are assuming that finite number of buffers are there. That means in one buffer we are having finite capacity. That means n items we can store. That we can refer as n buffers we are having. Each can hold one item. Next, we are maintaining 3 semaphore values. Okay, 3 semaphore variables. Sorry, 3 semaphore variables. One is mutex. The name itself indicating it is used to maintain mutual exclusion. In entire process of utilizing this bounded buffer, we will be using a variable called mutex to maintain mutual exclusion to access this bounded buffer. Next, full is another semaphore which is used to maintain what is the how many slots out of n buffers, how many buffers are filled. Initially no buffer will be filled, so initially the value of a semaphore will be 0. Next, empty is to indicate how many buffers are empty. So initially all buffers are empty. That's why it is initialized with the value n. So now the question is, out of these three semaphores, mutex is semaphore, full is also semaphore, empty is also semaphore. Out of these, what are counting semaphores? Yeah, please respond, ma'am. Out of these three, which are counting semaphores? As we have discussed earlier, there can be two types of semaphores. One is binary semaphore, another one is counting semaphore. Out of these three, are we having any counting semaphores? Yes or no? Counting semaphores. What are the counting semaphores that we have? Yes, please respond, ma'am. Out of these three, here you can observe full is to specify how many buffers are filled. We are having n, so suppose n by 2 buffers are filled, so full value will be n by 2, right? So whenever we have only 0 and 1 as the sum of our values, that we consider as binary semaphores. But full can consist of other values, 0, 1, 2, 3, so on up to n we can have. So full is counting semaphore. Similarly, empty is already having the value n, so empty is also counting semaphore. Coming to this mutex is to implement mutual exclusion on this particular bounded buffer. So this can be either 0 or 1, so it is binary semaphore. Mutex is binary semaphore or mutex locks kind of thing, but full and empty are counting semaphores. Okay, next, how we can implement this is, first, this is interesting, try to understand. We will be having producer and consumer. Producer will produce the items, consumer will consume the items, right? Now after producing an item, he has to put in the common buffer. Yes or no? After producing an item, he has to put in the common buffer. So he has to wait whether empty slots are there. Okay, if empty slots are there, then he has to check whether it is allowed to put in the common buffer or not. That is, on this mutex, he has to wait. Okay, if mutex variable is greater than 0, that is, if mutex value is 1, then he could able to add item produced. After adding, he has to give the signal of mutex. That means mutex value will be incremented. Wait operation means mutex value will be decremented. Signal operation means mutex value will be incremented. Next, signal of here full. Signal operation will increment the semaphore value which we have given. So full value will be incremented. Earlier, empty, weight of empty, in the sense, as we are utilizing one slot, empty value will be decremented. Suppose n empty slots are there, as we are producing and putting one item into buffer, so n value becomes n minus 1. That's what the operation of wait. Next, mutex and signal, these two operations on this mutex will be, wait and signal will be used to maintain mutual exclusion. After adding, number of full will be incremented. That's why signal operation we are performing. So signal operation will make the full value from 0 to 1. Like this is the producer procedure. Similar to that, can we guess what is consumer process? Consumer process is nothing but, in order to access, in order to consume one item, he has to decrement how many full slots are there. Okay, he has to update this. Suppose 5 are there, after consuming one item, it has to decrement by 1, so it will become 4. That means he has to wait, he has to give the call called wait on full, wait of full, so full value will be decremented. Suppose 4 is there, it will become 3. Suppose 3 is there, it will become 2, then 1. If it is 0, what will happen? Weight of full, but full value is 0, then it has to wait. It will be kept in blocked state. Why? Because until there is produced item, there is a produced item, he consumer has to wait until it has produced. That's why wait on full. If already produced items are there, then one of those will be consumed by consumer. Okay, so the consumer process will be wait on full. Of course, this is to ensure mutual exclusion. Then signal on empty. Why? Because after consuming one item, suppose 4 items are there in the bounded buffer of capacity 5. First 4 are filled. So now one item has consumed. Then how many free slots are there? Earlier, only one empty slot is there. But this is also consumed, so 2 empty slots are there. So signal operation will increment empty variable, empty semaphore. Like this, we can have consumer process. Is this clear? Bounded buffer problem? Yes? Yes, ma. Did you understand this? Simple thing. We will be maintaining 3 semaphores. One is to maintain mutual exclusion. One is to specify how many full buffers are there, how many empty buffers are there. While producing an item and putting this one in the bounded buffer, we need to check whether empty slot are there. Okay, wait on empty. Next, mutual exclusion we have to maintain. That means wait on mutual mutex, then signal on mutex. This is common. Here we will be putting in the common buffer. Okay, bounded buffer. After this, we have added one item, right? So number of full will be incremented. So that's why we will be giving signal operation on full. Okay, this is the logic. Similarly, consumer logic in the sense, while consuming, he has to check whether it is empty or not, or full or not. Whether it is full or not, we have to check. Any full vertical buffers are there or not to consume, we will be checking. If a full is greater than 0, that means what does it mean? At least one buffer is there, one item has produced and it is there in buffer. Then in the mutual exclusion, we will be consuming. After that, we have to signal there is an empty slot produced. Why? Because we have consumed one item here. By using mutual exclusion, we have consumed. So we have to give signal that is the number of empty slots will be incremented. That's why signal on empty. Okay, this is bounded buffer problem by using semaphores. What sort of semaphores we have used? One is binary semaphore. These two are counting semaphores. This binary semaphore we have used to maintain the mutual exclusion. These two are to count how many free slots are there, how many empty slots are there, how many full slots are there, how many empty slots are there. We will be maintaining by using these two semaphores. Got it? So this is about one of the classical problems of synchronization called bounded buffer problem. In the next class, we will be seeing the remaining two and discussion on why we are discussing, why we have considered only these problems. Yeah. Thank you, ma. You can enter your roll number and tell you. Thank you.